Every day, we strive to do more and be the best versions of ourselves. It's not an easy task, but success is available for each of us. Welcome to the Swag University podcast, where each week we explore insightful messages, strategies, and tips to help you level up in life. Your host, Dr. Phildra Swagger, creative strategist and mindset coach, will empower you with the tools you need to create the life and business you desire, while providing inspirational insights to the woman who wants to see her destiny manifested daily. So now, let's level up with Dr. Swag.
Hey, everybody, it's your girl, Dr. Swag. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I most certainly am. You know, it's always great to meet you here for this conversation. Today's conversation is sponsored by Combined Expertise. Combined Expertise sponsors the Boss Chick Inner Group Circle. If you have not heard, we have group circles for women who want to build the lives of their dreams, not just by happenstance, but by looking at your intentions, creating value-based goals, and setting it in action. So please visit combinedexpertise.com Boss Chick for more information about the Boss Chick Inner Circle Group Coaching Program. But what's great about today is that I have a real live boss chick with me. I have Liz Wooten Reschke, who is the president of Connect for More. Connect for More is a leading consulting firm that works with nonprofits to build capacity, leadership, and make connections. She's also a leader in the Florida nonprofit world, where she helps other nonprofit leaders come together, build their expertise, extend their reach, and have an impact in the community. What I love about Liz is that she is also a Brene Brown facilitator. And one of the reasons that I invited her here today is because women, we give so much back to the community. We support our families. We do the most with the least. And the conversation today is, how do we do that and feel good about who we are, being present for ourselves, and understanding that we do not have to be perfect. We can be perfectly imperfect and make a contribution to others. So without more, hello to my friend and welcome, Liz.
Hello, Dr. Swag. So happy to be here today. And you know I love talking about this. So just a wonderful opportunity to get to join you on this one.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So I want to jump right in and invite you to tell us a little bit about your journey to understanding how perfectly imperfect you are and how you lead your business from a value-based mission.
Absolutely. Well, you know, there's a great meme or a story about, you know, your plan and looks like a trajectory, like a roller coaster going up. And then there's a plan that says God's plan, and it looks like hills and valleys. And right. I would say that is pretty much what the history of my life has been, is life and God and everything else happening while I am trying to make other plans. So for about half my life, about probably the first half, I fought that. Honestly, I fought and really butted up against the values of saying, no, I'm fine, I'm good, I got this. And then really, as life just continued to hand me, on the personal side of things, challenges related to becoming a caregiver, a parent, a newlywed, soon after a divorcee, being back on the dating scene, being an entrepreneur, there were just so many things that I say with love, broke me open. And so really required me to lean into understanding that, one, I have limitations, two, that I am not perfect, and three, that I don't have to have any sort of perfect in my life to be a wholehearted individual. And that's where my love of Brene kind of came in. Actually, around the same time that I was going through my divorce was the first time I proverbially met Brene's work.
Fantastic. And how has that work impacted the work that you do in your nonprofit?
Absolutely. So the work that we're doing at Connect for More has been really interesting to take in Brené's work of wholeheartedness and self-care and values-based leadership, because we've been able to work with our clients, many of whom are nonprofits in the state of Florida, to really work into and lean into, how do I manage more with little? How do I take care of myself while taking care of others? How do I create appropriate boundaries for my leadership? And for example, if I'm a chief executive, how do I create appropriate and respectful boundaries for my board of directors? And at the same time, provide guidance for, the folks who are reporting to me, whether those are volunteers or program managers, et cetera. So being able to integrate those principles in. But one of the things that we've really been able to do lately is to help groups lean into tough conversations. So whether that's conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion, whether that's conversations about social justice, whether that's conversations about pandemic impact, it's really been a way for us to use some of the tools that we've developed over the last 12 years in business to help people move past the ego, move into the vulnerability, and at the same time, move forward with courage.
Moving forward with courage. That's pretty powerful there. Say more about that.
Sure. So I tend to be a little bit like Forrest Gump, and courage is as courage does. But I will say that courage is not something that I think most of us feel we have on tap. And so, I've known and realized in myself as a person and as a parent in particular that I may think I've got it figured out, and then something happens that unleashes the fear, right? Unleashes the kraken of fear. And so from that, I've learned that courage isn't always about being 100% positive that you're going to get it right. It's being willing to know that you don't know what's about to happen, but you're going to take the next right step. Wow. And so for me, it's how we position our clients, how we position our team, and quite frankly, even for my kids' sake, how I help prepare them as courageous and empathetic individuals in this world that is perhaps encouraging them to be otherwise.
It's funny when you think about courage and you say, it's not something that we innately think we have. And what I've learned in this new space that I'm in is that courage comes into action. You've heard success leaves traits or clues and tips. That's true. But overcoming any limited mindsets or any fear is the repetitive nature of doing the action, and to me, that's courage, taking that first step, deciding that, yes, I am going to start a nonprofit, or I am going to leave a career, or I am going to get married again, or, I'm not going to be married anymore. Whichever direction you're walking in, it's that first step. And then continuing down that journey is pretty courage building.
Yes, I think we talk a lot about building your muscles, right? I used to be, and you just found this out, I used to be a dance team instructor and am training this year actually to be a yoga instructor. And so we talk a lot about building your muscle. And I think that's really important that we think of courage as a practice. That it's not a one and done. It's not a, wow, I overcame this very difficult event in my life. Because the older I get, the more I realize, stop saying this is the worst thing that's ever happened and just use it for the lesson that is. Because there might be something that is going to struggle, that you'll struggle with and butt up against later in life. And then also there are lessons that you have learned in the struggle that you can then impart on others who are looking for help or are in that same situation unexpectedly as well. So I think it's about building your courage muscle, and that's only going to happen through practice. That's only coming from what Brené calls choosing courage over comfort, leaning into your integrity and being willing to do the hard things, because the hard things are not easy, and they most of the time, quite frankly, aren't always fun. But they are necessary to show up as a wholehearted leader, that we lean into our courage, we lean into the fact that we are vulnerable human beings, and we lean into the fact that that makes us more wholehearted as a leader.
Yeah. You said so much there. Becoming a yoga instructor, one of the things that I'm leaning into now is meditation. And I've heard you challenge, well, not heard you challenge, you challenged me a couple times, and I never feel like I give you an adequate response when you challenge me to think about when I chose comfort over courage. But what it has led me to think about was that fear is a motivator. Fear is a motivator that keeps you in a place that lacks courage. I think lacks courage because it's a place of repairing what you think is broken, repairing what you think is a broken dream, as opposed to leaning into the dream and realizing that you can create whatever you want of your future self, whatever version of your future self you want. And so that is the courage to lean in and actually create, as opposed to continuing to tell the same story. And so how does that apply for me, if that's okay? I try to, I don't try here. It's open and I'm vulnerable to it. And which is another trait that Brené talks about building the strength in being vulnerable and taking those lenses off. But I realized using fear as a motivator had placed me stuck in a story that I had written about myself and my past and put on a lens, a mask that I thought the world needed to see in order to get to these other places. And as I peel that off, and I say because I think every day we're reinventing ourselves. Every day we're building that muscle and improving courage, right? And so, ladies, I might be in a tangent here, or on a tangent here, but the point is, she said, choosing courage over comfort, and that's being vulnerable, letting yourself show up as you really are, right? That takes courage. So I think that's where I am. That's the lesson that you have put on me. You challenge me. You don't even know sometimes, girl, you're not with me. You're challenging me to be my better self, right? To be a better version, to live wholehearted.
Well, and I appreciate that. And I'm honored that I'm challenging you. And I say that with love, because the challenges of others comes from leaning into the work that I've done to challenge myself. And so for me, it's funny. I've learned a lot of the work when it comes to vulnerability or self-compassion. They're like little grenades that they don't always go off right when you hear them. There's something that happens sometimes where it just triggers like I call it an oh shoot moment. And like, oh, that it just showed up. Mm-hmm. And I think those are moments sometimes where we have the opportunity to lean into them, to lean into the fear or the vulnerability, but also to take the moment and the time to reflect. So for me, fear is a feeling. And, the same thing, happiness is a feeling. And I think I've appreciated yoga and meditation, although I have struggled with both to be focused.
Right.
I appreciate it because of the metaphor piece of impermanence, right? It comes in like a wave and a feeling can go out like a wave. So if you have fear today, that doesn't mean that you're going to be afraid tomorrow. And that also doesn't mean that you're going to be happy today and happy tomorrow. It means that you have to keep coming back to, where am I now? What am I feeling now? How do I want to show up now? Mm-hmm. Because how I show up now as a parent is much different than how I wanted to show up at age 25 before kids. Mm-hmm. So I think, again, it's we as women have an opportunity to really decide who we want to be instead of what we want to do.
Another powerful one. Lean into the being, not the doing.
Yeah.
Who do we
I have heard that so many times from mentors of mine. And the older I get, the more it resonates. And it always kind of throws me for a loop because I'm like, but dang, I want those accolades. Dang, I want those letters. I want the articles. I want the book publishing. I want the acronyms at the back of my name. I want all those things. And then it's like, oh, but I also want to be whole. And sometimes those have a tension. Sometimes you're sacrificing one for the other, and that's not really where we always want to be, sacrificing ourselves for the accomplishments of this life. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. I heard Lisa Nichols say, and I speak to the entrepreneurs on this, that wealth is about accumulating things. Abundance is about a 360 lifestyle.
Yeah.
And a 360 lifestyle is, having that peace, having wealth. Yes, wealth is important, but also your health and also your relationships and everything that brings the song to happiness to your heart. Right.
I would agree with that. And I think when we talk about entrepreneurs, and I'm actually proud these days to admit that I am an entrepreneur, because it took me a few years to own that, because that wasn't my plan. I mean, I stepped into consulting because I was a product of the last recession. And it was fairly unwillingly, admittedly. It was like, this is not what I planned for. So I spent probably 2 years really bumping up against that and going, but this isn't what I wanted, instead of this is what is. So work with that, work with what is. And that's been the really interesting challenge over time. I find myself inherently bumping up against, I didn't want it that way. And really saying, so what? So what? That's what it is now. So let's figure it out. And really let's figure out what it is. And then we can decide, either where we go from here or how do we get comfortable in this uncomfortable space and uncertainty. And I think the last 12 months, it's been a lot of that, right? The lack of certainty on so many different levels.
So these last 12 months with all this uncertainty and the so what question, that's major. What tips would you give women who are mompreneurs like yourself, nonprofit leaders, consultants, to, if possible, bring any normalcy or a routine to what it is that they do?
That's a great question. I hesitate from the word normal, because I don't, I feel like I've been in constant evolution for the last 10 years about what normal is for me personally. But I think normalizing and creating some sort of comfort, admittedly, is still a while off. So for recommendations, I think it's just to help train the story that you're telling yourself. Like you had talked about your own narrative, and I've certainly shared with you offline some of my own narrative that I've told myself. That I would love for all our mompreneurs, for all of our female consultants and female business leaders to just embody the following statement. You matter. Your work matters, but you matter more. And that's not to say that your work doesn't matter enough, but we sacrifice ourselves so much for the work. We skip lunches, we sleep less than 7 to 8 hours. We don't take care of ourselves physically or mentally. We don't seek help when we need it. I really would love to help train our brains, retrain, I guess, to help us remember that we matter. And for me, sometimes I have to write that on a Post-it and put it up there. But, over the last 12 months, if nothing else, I've had an office mate and my daughter is 7. And I want her to see that I think I matter, because I think she matters. And so I think it's also modeling, we can do it for others, but we need to do it for ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves. You matter. There's no one right prescription to be healthy or whole. It really, you all are the expert in yourselves and figuring out what matters to you and reminding yourself that you matter every single day. Until that's the narrative that we're telling ourselves. That's what I hope.
That's beautiful. So you've done this for 12 years. These last 12 months have been so impactful. So over these 12 years, is there anything you would do differently?
Ooh, yes, so much. Hindsight is 20/20 for a reason. I think there are things that I would do differently, but would I change the way things have projected? Probably not. I think it's very easy to say in hindsight, I would have done this, I would have done that, I would have noticed this, I would have paid more attention to that. I have learned some lessons. I learned a lot of lessons, but I feel like I have learned them the hard way. I have gotten smacked in the head with a lot of life's lessons because I refuse to acknowledge what was. So that, as you said, it's a constant journey, and that is still a journey for me. It is still a journey to embrace what is. It is still a journey to let go of what I had hoped it would be. Mm-hmm. And it is still a battle to show up as who I really am. And so I think that is what I continue to learn, is that, 12 years, 12 months, if I stop growing, I think that might be my last day on earth. And so, I want to be leaning into learning the lessons because I have chosen to listen to them the first time instead of getting beaten over the head when life has just said, nope, that's not happening. And, really said, okay, you're going to stop here and you're going to have to learn this lesson.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful.
The general theme is I would go back and tell my younger self to pay attention a little bit more to the lessons that life is trying to teach you, and stop trying to forge your own way, sacrosanct of everybody else.
Mm. You know what comes up for me on that is Michelle Obama. In her book, she titled it Becoming on Purpose, because you used the word evolving, evolution, and every day we are becoming, we're evolving more and more of who we want to be. No, we can't go back and change it. But as you say, we can live in the right now, in the what is, in order to inform the real so what. Yeah.
Right. Well, and it's funny you should mention, I nerd out about real books as a former English teacher. So I actually have a couple of phrases from Becoming on my board over here, just thinking about, it's a process. It's a process of becoming who you are, who you're meant to be, and owning who you are. Like in the moment, this is what we are. And so I also think, having read that book myself, I also think that it's a becoming story of our nation. And I hope, that we continue to become the best possible versions of ourselves. And it's something that I talk to my children about, particularly about perfectionism, that you don't need to be perfect. I want you to show up as the best possible version of yourself that you can today. And maybe today, like my son's wearing pajamas today, whatever. I mean, he showed up, he did his schoolwork. So who cares if he's wearing Santa jammies?
Right.
But, meanwhile, my daughter's dressed up and she's ready, like she's going to, the Nutcracker Ballet. And so we all show up very differently. Mm-hmm. But I think, again, how we show up as the best possible versions of ourselves each day, knowing that we're not going to show up at our best each day. Mm-hmm. We're going to show up however we can in whatever moment. And honestly, that's what the last 12 months has taught me as well, is that you're going to show up how you show up. And if you can offer yourself grace and space to do that, I think you'll end up a stronger leader, a more intentional parent and partner, and just be able to give yourself some grace and self-compassion as well.
Liz, this conversation has been everything. I mean, I hope everybody that was listening, I hope you grabbed a pen. It was so many kernels that she shared that really I can walk away with. I could be more courageous. I can be more present. I know the so what that really matters, right? So I hope you jotted it down. I hope you grabbed it, guys. Liz, in closing, are there any other pearls of wisdom you like to leave the audience with as to how they reach their so what?
Sure. I will say that one of the things that I always encourage, and as we're recording this, tomorrow is National Unplugging Day, which is a tech break day for 24 hours. So that may sound like torture or a luxury, but I would encourage each of the leaders to take tech breaks. And I know that sounds maybe contrite, but I have found greatest connection to myself when I can stay away from my email, when I can keep off Facebook, when I can keep my cell phone on vibrate, or even across the house so I don't even know where it is.
Right.
So just being willing to step away with some of the things that keep us connected so that you can more greatly connect with yourself.
Thank you so much, guys. So you heard that. Connect with yourself to have a more wholehearted life and be present. I want to thank you, Liz, for coming today and having this conversation with the Swag University audience. And I want to give you the opportunity to tell them how to connect with you. Where can we find you?
Absolutely. Well, so thanks to many of my interns pushing me into my vulnerable, uncomfort zone. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, all under @Connect4, FOR more. And our website is named the same, connectformore.com. We'd love to talk to you and hear more about your own work and connect with you as well. So Dr. Swagger, thank you so much. I always love talking to you, and it's always fun when we can bring our work to a larger audience too.
Likewise. I appreciate you. So guys, as always, remember to stay blessed to be a blessing. Until next time, it's your girl, Dr. Swag. Peace, love, and happiness.
Glad you joined our conversation. For more Swag University episodes, subscribe on iTunes and help us level up by leaving a 5-star review. For more information and free resources, visit our website at swaguniversity.com with 2 G's. That's SWAGG University.com. Also, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to keep the conversation going. Until next time, we hope this episode has inspired you to manifest your destiny and level up today.